Hello friends, just jumping on real quick before we get into the episode to let you know there's a small part quite near the beginning where my audio is a little crunchy. Not sure why. It's not the best to hear, but I don't have any other options, unfortunately. It was just baked into whatever happened in the recording. It doesn't last for very long, and then it will be gone again. But just so you're aware, I'm sorry. I did try. Okay, anyway, enjoy the show.
Well, hello there.
Hello.
We're back.
We are.
Look at us being productive and
Hey,
things like that.
look at us.
Hey, look at us.
Who would
Put
have
that
thought?
on.
Not me.
Not me. Best thing ever. Anyway, we're back and we're gonna, discuss stuff that,
Has been a long time in the making.
yes, but it's happening now. So,
Hmm.
enjoy. That's the first thing. But before we do that, Katie's gonna introduce the podcast because why not?
So true. Hi everyone. Welcome to all the films we judged before. I'm Katie. That's Lily Kay. And that's it.
That's it.
That's it.
That's
That's
it.
done.
Done. All right.
Sorry, I had to push the microphone.
It's better. I'm not gonna ask you what did you watch last week because we're gonna make 2 back-to-back recordings.
Yeah, there's really no point.
It's just no point. Instead, we're just gonna get into it. So this is the Toby Stephens weeks to all the films we watched before, and we're gonna start with my favorite Toby Stephens creation ever, which is Lost in Space. It's a Netflix series. It had 3 seasons. Unfortunately, wish there was more. Anyway, Katie watched it because she never watched it before, and we're gonna get into that. And my first very important question is your spoiler-free thoughts on it?
Kind of. So let's. I feel like we should actually put this in context a little bit for people.
Okay.
When I started watching Black Sails like 2 years ago, and I was going a bit insane over it, and then you said, well, you should, if you like Black Sails and Toby Stephens, you should watch Lost in Space. So I watched Lost in Space.
Yes.
This was in 2022. So and I do not say this to shame you. I say this more to put this in context for myself. Doing a spoiler-free review a lot easier when you watch the show in about a year and a half.
It's been a while. It's been a while. I've been slow. It's on me.
And I understand that it can be. But we'll get into the other side of that later. But yes, I mean, I am not much of a crier. I do cry at things, but I'm not as you are, in that I do not cry at the drop of a hat when I am watching things. It really has to be right, and hit, the right spots. Something about this bloody show had me weeping like every other episode. Just like, it would be doing like some of the most normal stuff, and I'd just be like, the projectile tears would be coming out of my face, like, full sobbing like every other episode.
Yep.
It's like, I don't know what they did. I think it might be magic. I may have been cursed whilst watching it.
I mean, maybe, or it's just, it's just.
It's really good. It's
Yes.
a very good show.
It is.
They did a very, it's one of the earlier ones that they did. It's kind of early in Netflix's like history of making original content, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, still, I feel like it still retains some more of the, beg your pardon, it retains a bit more of the quality that we used to get in some of the earlier Netflix stuff where, obviously they weren't stretched so thin, so they kind of let things breathe a little bit more. I feel like that it's very emblematic of that era of like Netflixy stuff. Yeah, it's just good. The character's great. It looks gorgeous.
It does.
I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just
it's a good show.
it is a good show. It's like, when I first started watching it because I'm old. We already established that. And I remember watching the Matt LeBlanc movie, Lost in Space, and being
Matt
terrified of
LeBlanc
it.
Lost
Yes,
in Space. Oh my
of
god.
course there is. Of course there is. So I was like, I remember that movie very vividly because it scared me to that. There's one scene that's just like my nightmare basically in it. And I kept waiting in this series to get to that scene.
Hmm.
And I am so grateful we never did. Like, I'm like, oh, boy, I would have like, I don't want to have nightmares regarding this series, so I didn't. But I remember that, and then looking at this series now, the movie wasn't great, by the way. So that's like, it's not a good movie. But I remember like being okay with it. It's like, okay, it's good for one thing, I guess. But then watching this is like, I connected to the Robinsons as I never did before, and it's like, it's just everything in it was so perfect, and I think it has a lot to do with the casting of the entire thing, because every single character was perfectly cast in my mind, and then just the story, like it's just so captivating and just keeps you on your edge of the seat, and it's like, so good, so good. I love it, I love it, I love it so much. That's the spoiler free thought, because there's so many spoilers to this series, and obviously it's been like, the last season came out in 2021
Yeah.
or 2
21.
21. That's the one. I was one of the lucky few who got the
That
limited
poster.
edition poster, which is still next to my bed there. That's the one.
There it is.
Because I've been yelling about Lost in Space for such a long time, and Netflix was like, "Hey, here's a poster for you," and I'm like, "Yay!" Anyway, let's get into the more spoilery stuff, and since you are on the newer side of things, I'm gonna start with you and asking questions about
I
it.
was going to say, you're going to need to prompt me, because that's...
Yeah, that's what's gonna happen.
Okay, good. Because I think if you asked me to just talk about it off the cuff, I'd be like, yes, it is good show.
Done. No, we're gonna take it apart a little bit.
Good.
And my first question is obviously, what did you think of our lovely family, the Robinsons?
I think that I know I was joking about like it being magic, but I think that it's them innately. That is the reason that this show gets incredibly emotional. The family connection is very strong, real, all of those words. It and I think that ties a lot into the writing as well. Sorry. I'm a little coldy.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's like I think they did because it's not I mean, it's kind of a relatively small family, but for a show, that's a lot. It's still like a decent amount of relationships that you need to develop individually. Plus, you have outside people who kind of become part of the family, including lovely
Yes.
Don.
Yeah, done.
Okay, good. Don here, who he's one of the family. He's part of it. So to be able to cultivate those relationships like individually and have them all be unique to each other is very impressive. Yeah. This is where I'm getting stuck because maybe I should have watched like the pilot again before we sat down to do this, but yeah, I don't know. It's like it's very much watching them sort of be together and the amount of care that you can kind of tell that they have for each other that I think decidedly set me off constantly.
Yeah. Yeah, which is understandable. I mean, they do have their own struggles.
No, yeah, but that's part of it. You need conflict for a good story anyway. But like that is the nature of family. Is that
I definitely I think my favorite dynamic is between Toby and Taylor Russell, who played Judy Robinson, and obviously Toby is the dad, whose name I forgot. But
John.
He was John. That's it's the easiest name to remember.
I think it's the easiest name to also forget though. Is the thing.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But I really I think it was in season 3 where they got into it more of how important they are to each other.
Yeah.
And I just loved there was that one specific episode that was just basically them and their relationship, and it's like it was so beautifully done. I remember crying on it for a long time. I was like Why is this so good? What? But like everyone is like, you know, I always have problems with kids.
Yes,
That's a thing for me.
famously.
But like I love all of them.
Mm.
Like I Max with Jenkins who played Will had such a beautiful arc throughout this entire series, from the guy who was like they didn't even want to let him get onto this whole expedition,
Yeah.
and obviously, you know, he proved himself to be more valuable than almost anyone else
Oh yeah.
at the end. So that was like beautifully done. I loved the mom. I loved Penny. Obviously, that's Mina Sanwell, who went on and played in our favorite God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah,
Now,
that's it. Because I remember I was like, she was in a game, and I saw her pop up, and I went, "Oh, you're really familiar. Why do I know you?"
that's her.
And I was like, "Wait, it's Penny.
It is Penny.
What are you doing here?"
I will also say that I think that Penny might be the weakest
Mm,
of all of them, simply because I don't think she got too many chances to shine.
okay.
That makes sense. Like, you know, I know she had her moments,
Mm,
and obviously she did a lot for the family even when she didn't believe she did.
mm.
But like, I don't know, she just kind of faded into the background a little bit for me.
Middle child syndrome.
Yeah, kind of.
Oof.
So but yeah, I just love them all. Like, you know, the entire family was just so well put together, and all of their conflicts and everything just made sense
Mm.
in a family point of view.
I think it's a very good example of how to uh, ground characters in particular flaws and how those things then impact other people.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's very organic in that way, where you know you come up with a character and you go, well, this is who they are, and these are the things that like they will not budge on, and
Mm-hmm.
how does that then mesh with somebody who has kind of almost not necessarily the opposite, but like an adjacent trait that might impact in a certain way. Um, I'm doing really badly at putting sentences together today.
It's fine.
And I'm like, I know what I'm trying to say. It's like you want if you have characters who are very steadfast in a certain belief and have
Mm.
another character who fundamentally disagrees with that in some form or another, that's where you get conflict from. And innately, that makes good story. And I think this does it very well because it also blends that with the fact that these people love each other,
Mm-hmm.
which immediately changes the entire tone of something. Because you can have somebody who then you can have a character who believes in a certain thing, and then you have another character that they don't like who believes something opposite, and it becomes very easy to then just make them antagonistic. To have a character then, you know, be like, well, this is the way we're doing things, and somebody else goes, okay, but I love you, but no, that it just immediately is like a more interesting dynamic, and I feel like that's like basically all of the dynamics in this show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's all I have to say on that front.
that's fair. That's like completely fair. Also, uh, yeah, we're gonna get into the other characters, like the main characters now, which is obviously Don, played
Mm.
by Ignacio. I'm not gonna say his last name. I can't say is that Cericchio?
Sericchio. Yeah, Sericchio.
Ignacio Cericchio. Parker Posey, who's fucking amazing.
Yeah,
I
she's pretty. I
fucking
think she
fucking hate
probably.
Smith so much.
I know. I think she's probably one of the most interesting characters in this entire show,
Oh
and
yeah.
she has the most interesting arc because I think it's very. I think you know, in that way, having a character go from one place to another when you're that antagonistic to start off with.
Hmm.
Um, Even then, she's not like antagonistic. I mean, she's antagonistic, but she's not like a villain, really. I think villain and antagonist are two very different like states of being. She is
Mm.
in opposition to, you know, our characters for a lot of it, but she also goes through this incredible character arc of learning how to not be selfish, basically.
Basically, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
still don't know, like, you know, that's like I still on edge or with the fact how she survived.
Mm.
Basically, because it's just like I know they explain it, like how she survived the whole thing with the robots and
Mm.
her self-sacrifice, which wasn't a sacrifice after all, because, obviously. But like, I don't know if I like it. I kind of wish that they would have left her like that, like, that was her turning point of like, realizing that she can save them, and that's it. At the end of season 2, I believe. Yes.
Okay, I was trying to think about that because the end of season 3 is where she really like makes a decision to be like
Um, I mean,
she.
yeah,
To be
but
fair, again, it's been a while, so I don't remember the specifics. The way I remember it was that like she finally makes a decision to like actually, or you know, even makes a decision, but like she finally feels like some like semblance of remorse. So like the door opens to a place of redemption, which I always like a lot more than somebody sacrifices themselves and they die. You know, to and then that's redemption filled. I think I think it's way more interesting to have somebody work to actually become a better person because I think
I
that's
mean, I
how
mean,
that's just real.
yeah, but I just don't, because I like it too, but I think that her sacrifice then is just like kind of pointless. Like, I don't know why we have both where it looks like she sacrificed herself, but not really. And then basically just giving her an arc where she can get kind of a redemption at the end. And I'm like, maybe, I don't know if we needed that.
I
Like,
think it's a bit like, well, on the one side, it could have been like they actually did plan to let her die at that
yeah,
point,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
they decided that actually that like Parker posed too much, and they brought her back again.
Which is fair because she's great.
Yeah, understandable. Or it could just like be a step on the journey to be like, oh, I'm gonna do this thing because it will make me seem really good. Only for it to like, she doesn't end up dying because of it,
Yeah.
and then she actually has to learn the lesson, sort of a thing. It's like I mean, it's kind of classic three-act structure where you kind of get, you know, character learns something, they feel like they've changed, but actually they still have one last thing to learn before they can actually get to the place, where they
Mm.
end up and all that sort of stuff. I could now you're talking about it, it does, kind of it makes sense to me
Yeah.
what you mean. Yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah, I don't know. I love her. Like, she's fucking great. I mean, Parker Posey. Dr. Smith is a fucking asshole. Especially at the beginning.
Oh
I
yeah.
was every single time she was like the typical antagonist
Mm.
during the entire season 1 where it finally seemed like it's going their way. But no, because Dr. Smith is there and she's gonna fuck up everything. And I'm like, fuck you.
That's very 60s though.
It is. It is. It's like, I love it, but like, fuck you. Uh, but she's fucking great in the role, and I think I can safely say that no one else could play this character
Oh
as
yeah.
good as her. Like, she was just perfect. Just everything about the entire thing was like beautiful, just beautiful. I also gotta say that I love Dom so much.
Yeah.
Like, just
One man and his chicken.
yes, that chicken. I was so afraid that the chicken is gonna
Hey,
die. I
if
was
it's
like,
confusing as to how Dr. Smith managed to survive the entirety of this show, that chicken should not be alive.
shh,
I mean, I'm
chicken
glad
lives.
that it was, but like,
Yes,
if we're thinking about this logically.
it doesn't matter. The chicken must live. That's it. That's all that matters. That the chicken must live.
Hmm.
And the chicken did. But anyway, I will say that the only thing that I missed from the show, and they kind of implied it, and it was kind of there,
Mm.
because the thing that I remember, other than the nightmare scene from the movie, is that Matt LeBlanc played Don
Okay,
in the movie.
this makes sense to me.
Yes, and Don had a romantic relationship with Judy in the movie.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, I feel like they cast Don too old to
Yes,
really go too far
yeah,
with that.
yeah, I know, I know. I mean, the second I realized how the, like,
The
how it
dynamic.
connected to the movie and everything, I was like, oh wait, I think you might be.
uh,
Mm,
mm.
mm,
But the
mm.
thing is, I can see what you mean because there's a certain like
There's a spark.
there's a
It
chemistry
seems.
there,
Yeah,
but also at the same time you're like, I don't remember how old Judy is when they start
I
off.
think she's 18.
Okay,
I
well,
mean,
I mean, it's not great, but it's not the worst
yeah,
thing in the world.
yeah.
Um,
And they kind of imply at the end, and they are like, they have something, but it's never like
yeah,
said or shown. It's
I
just
think
like,
considering the way that they cast it,
yeah,
probably the best way to go about it.
yeah, yeah. But I kind of miss that because I remember liking that storyline. I was like,
I
yeah,
think
okay.
you get a sense of the fact that these two people clearly care about each other
Oh yeah.
which is nice. I mean, you get that sense from fucking everybody in this show, but I really like Don's relationship with basically everybody.
Hmm.
In the way that he kind of just gets adopted.
Yeah.
It's just like he really is just some guy, but he's such a good guy that everybody's like, yeah, we want to keep you around.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're gonna be our big brother from
Yeah,
another mother and father. Yeah, but I love Don. You know, again, the casting on that is amazing.
proper little
Uh,
like roguish guy who just genuinely has a heart of gold and wants to help people.
yeah, he's a good one.
He's a
He's
good
a good one.
boy.
He's a good boy. And we have to talk about the robot
Yes,
because the robot is great.
it's a really good robot. It's such a great design as well.
Oh, I fucking love that design.
I mean, a lot of what's so great about the show is that it really is that production design is fantastic. I
Oh
love
yeah.
all the stuff with the ship. I love the fact that I love when sci-fi can do stuff that looks really really impressive on like TV budget, because like
Hmm.
TV budget oftentimes is the about the same for like a movie, like a full movie, but over the course of 10 episodes. So the
Yeah.
fact that they can stretch that kind of money in a way that goes, oh, this shit looks amazing.
I mean, it's
um,
beautiful to look at the
yeah,
entire thing.
it's a really cool ship. The
Hmm.
robots are really interesting, and have like, I love, I mean, just the entire concept from the off of this robots meeting Will Robinson in a moment where it's like, it's a proper like lion with a thorn in its paw moment,
Hmm.
where he gets helped and then he emulates the thing that he sees in front of him and goes, well, yeah, I will become bipedal and,
Yeah.
and sort of
Yeah.
human like because this is the thing that helped me. Which just immediately is such like a, oh, that's good content.
It. It's one of my favorite contents, to be honest. I just love when that happens in any form.
Hmm.
It's like, if it's done right,
Yeah,
it's just the best thing ever. And I think like Lost in Space is definitely
I
one of the
think
greatest examples for
I
it.
think Lost in Space understands it because it doesn't just do it because like, oh, we'll make this robot look more human
Mm,
because reasons. It understands the fundamental implication of that, like
yeah.
beyond where it saw something that helped it, and therefore it wants to be more like it, and that I think is basically, I mean, it's kind of the theme of the whole show,
It is.
really.
Hmm.
In a lot of ways. I mean, other than family, which is obviously the other really important. But yeah, it's an. I mean, and to that point, it's also about the importance of being curious as opposed to judgmental.
Hmm.
To quote Ted Lasso, who was quoting Walt Whitman at the time, but like I'm thinking about Ted Lasso. Um, um, yeah, because it so much of what becomes, so much of what gets resolved comes from Will taking the
Hmm.
time to be interested as opposed to frightened.
Yeah.
Um, he and believing in the concept of change, which
Yeah.
I think also is I mean, there's so many there's some really good themes in the show. I think that's another thing is that there's so much of that sort of like I love stories about redemption and stories about believing the best in people are like they are like kryptonite. It's like,
Hmm.
oh God,
Hmm.
the power of belief in people can save us actually.
Yeah. And
For
I
weeping.
exactly. I love that. In the first season when the robot came along, and everyone was like, oh, I don't know how we should, you know, what we should do or what we should think about this thing. And then Will was like, well, he's my friend, so it's all good. And everyone was like, okay, I guess
I
it is.
mean, to be fair, I think it takes a minute, but I think, yeah, I get what you mean. I think a lot of that comes from a choice to believe in the fact that their son is a good person.
Yeah. Yeah,
um,
exactly.
and has good judgment, which I think also is set up very well by the whole fact that, he wasn't meant to be on the mission,
Mm-hmm.
and they snuck him in anyway, kind of,
Yeah.
you know, like a good mother would, she changed all of the answers to his exam.
I mean, like, it just completely made sense. We can talk about the entire like why she did it, or should she have done it,
Mhm.
or whatever. Yes, because it's her
Yes,
freaking son. So of course she should have done it.
it's
Like,
but her stuff is really interesting as well because there's also a sense of like, as we get later on, there's a part of her that kind of really was desperate to go on this thing because she wanted to find out what happened to her first husband.
yeah.
Like there's that there in there as well. But like, as is the way with, good characters and humans in general, we are very complicated beings, and can hold a lot of different motivations at
Mm,
once. So it's like she's to be extremely selfish in one way, but also extremely selfish in another way, which becomes kind of selfless. It's an interesting like dynamic to be like, yeah, she, you know, technically speaking, on an objective level, kind of put everybody in risk by bringing Will with them because at that
yes.
time he did not act well under pressure, but
Yeah.
also he was a child.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was not he was what, like 11, 12,
12?
something
12.
like
I
that.
think he was 12, yeah.
It's like I think it's kind of understandable to be a bit um
It
not
is.
everybody can be action hero Judy.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
um but I think the important thing is that, he had the capacity to be able to do that. He was
Hmm.
always brilliant.
Yeah,
um
it was always in him.
it was always in him, and he just needed somebody to really believe in him. And I think that a lot of this show comes from learning how to love the people in your life in the way that they are, as opposed to the way that you want them to be.
Hmm.
Because it's not like they ever like really. It's not that way of like, I need you to be this person specifically, but it's like it's that thing of um feeling like they could be something else and getting frustrated when they aren't that thing,
Hmm.
instead of like nurturing them to that place,
Yeah.
which they all fail at and they all get better at, and then they just learn each other. They become a much stronger family unit because you kind of meet them and it's like, oh, this is a great family, and then it's like, oh no, hang on a
No,
second,
no, it's
there is some
not.
dysfunction here.
Yeah, yeah, we have problems in this family, like, But I love the whole like how it starts off with John and what's the mom's name? Maureen,
Yes,
being like completely, at
they
each
are
other's throats,
estranged.
and they are estranged and just awful to each other, basically. Well, awful, kind of. But then, learning to love each other again and understand each other better, and it's just
of
so
of
good
of the things that I do remember, that episode where they get stuck in the
in the mod.
mud,
Yeah,
and it's just like their relationship like
yeah,
therapy session.
basically,
So good.
it
I mean,
is.
you've got two actors that are brilliant together, and the part of the
Mm-hmm.
reason why we started doing this in the first place is because we love Toby Stephens, and
Toby
he's
Stephens is great.
and it's very interesting to me that he went from doing Black Sails, which was that Flint is a heavy character, and we'll talk about
Hmm.
that very soon. Um, uh, for you guys, it'll be a week. For us, it'll be very
Like
soon.
in 10 minutes. So
Um, Flint is a complicated and very heavy character, and I think it says a lot that he went from doing that to deciding to do this, where he gets to just sort of be fundamentally good. Um,
Mhm.
it's nice. I think it's very. I mean, it's a very human thing, and it must have been so lovely for him to get to
Oh
just
yeah.
be a good guy. Which again, we'll get into this, but I, Flint's so fucking interesting to me. Um, he's just he's a father and a husband. That's kind of
Yeah.
and a astronaut, and
And he's such a good father. Just
he's a
let me
good
put it out
dad.
there. He's a very good dad.
And he
Like,
he learned how to be a good dad was the
yeah.
other thing, because like he was flawed. I think is a very important about. I think that's the thing about parents in general. But like he becomes I mean, he was like a decent dad, but he becomes a really good dad
Oh
by the
yeah.
end of it.
Oh, 100%, 100%. All right, and then the other important question before we close down our Lost in Space discussion is, what did you think of the ending of it all? Like, because I know it's
It's
divided.
it's it's
Some
it's,
people
it's
like,
hard to remember. I don't remember not liking it.
yeah,
Put it that way. I've not
I
got
liked it.
any. Yeah, sorry.
Bless you.
I've not got any like negative
Mm.
memories of watching it. Um, I felt like maybe Will is a bit young to be going off and exploring the universe on his own. Where he has the robot with him, but he
Yeah,
is still.
yeah.
um, it's nice that he's gotten to a point where he feels like he can.
Uh, I mean, yeah,
I
yeah,
think
obviously.
I can see from a writing standpoint. My voice went wild then. From a writing standpoint, I can see why they would make that decision as like a as a thing. They can make sense as like a conclusion to that arc of
Hmm.
being somebody who's very afraid to not to act, to wanting to explore,
Yeah.
in that way. Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember the ins and outs of it well enough to be able to talk about like it all specifically, but I don't remember not liking it.
Yeah. I mean, I did like it. Like, it just made sense to every character, the conclusion that they got. I would only say that the only thing that bothered me a little bit is
Mm.
that obviously by the third season, they get to the colony, and everyone is there, and whatever. And it kind of lost its, like, this is a
Sense of
feminist story.
oh, okay.
It just kind of lost that for me a little bit, because we got more characters and
Mm.
whatnot, and obviously they had to be present, and I don't know, it's just a tiny complaint, and it's not
Mm.
even a complaint because I still enjoyed the third season
Yeah.
as well. Like, I didn't have any problems with it, but it's just, yeah, I kind of wish that it would have stayed in that cozy space of just being about the Robinsons and their
Mm.
tiny expansion of, like, Swiss and Don and the chicken, obviously.
And the chicken.
So yeah, that's very important.
Very important.
But at the same time, I understand, like, they had to get to their destination, and it had to conclude there, especially with the connection that they made with what happened in the first season and why they had to leave, which is obviously that they always knew about the robots, and it was always, the uh, I think it was a meteor or something like
I
that.
thought that was an environmental disaster. I thought it was like,
No,
oh,
no, it was the robots. Like, and it's
but
like
wasn't
it's
it like suggested it was an environmental disaster at the beginning?
it was
Right. Okay.
like
So I'm
that
not like
that
entirely
no, 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 no,
misremembering.
no, no. It was the suggestion, and then it turns out that,
There's robots.
no, we knew about the robots, and
Yeah.
actually we started this whole beef with them, basically, which
Yeah.
is, yeah, humans, right?
Classic.
Classic. And I think, in season 2, when they get really to the whole, like, we want to control the robots and whatever,
Mm.
and they try to use will to achieve that, I was like, fuck you all. You're fucking awful. But it's human nature at the end of the day. But I'm glad that.
I think what this does very well is that and I think what sci-fi in general, when it's done well, does very well is that it is stories about like the nature of humanity.
Mhm.
Like it is at the end of the day a vehicle in order to tell stories about what people are like, in juxtaposition to the wider universe. So to show that humans are capable of great destruction, great like oppression, all of these
Mhm.
bits and pieces, and on the other side, deep kindness and understanding. Um, it's like yeah, very complicated
Yeah.
and hypocritical and all of the above sort of a thing. Yeah, it's a good show.
It is a very good show. I fucking love Lost in Space. I think it's going to be time for a rewatch soon because I haven't seen it in a while. So I'm like,
I don't honestly know if I could deal with crying that much at it again.
I'm used
Like,
to it. So
I
I'm
was
like,
on holiday, like in you know, the west of Ireland, like watching it on my laptop, just like weeping.
is that kind of a show? It's that kind of show, but it's a very good one. So this is the part I'm gonna say if you haven't seen Lost in Space, it's available on Netflix everywhere. All 3 seasons are out, and it's a completed story. So it's not like ending with a cliffhanger or anything like that.
Yeah, as I was looking for, pictures for my background.
Yes,
By the way,
yes,
Maureen is here. I'm just covering her the entire
yes.
time. And
It's,
Will is
Will
obviously
is
here.
there.
This is Tiny Will. One of
Tiny
the
Will.
things that like really throws you off a little bit is watch the difference between Will in season 2 and season 3. Was like, oh my god, that child grew up so fast.
Yeah, yeah. Time just flew past.
It's like there was 2 years between when the second
Yeah,
season and the third season came out, so obviously that makes sense. But like, Jesus Christ, that's like
yeah.
that's a person.
That is a person. Yes,
He was a boy before, and now
he
he's
was.
like
And
taller.
now, yeah, and his voice is deeper and whatnot. So like, Will, is that you? But he's great. Maxwell Jenkins is
He's
great in
very
the role.
good.
He's very good. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, watch it. It's
Mm-hmm.
worth it. I kind of want to think that one day that we're gonna see maybe a Will and the robot, series maybe or something, or to some capacity we're gonna get back to Robinsons because I fucking love them.
Mm-hmm.
But if not, we still have Lost in Space, which is still great and it's a great watch. So watch Lost in Space.
There was, yeah, what I was going to say when I got distracted by pointing out the people in the picture,
Yes.
was when I was looking for a picture, I found one of from a petition that was like, "We need more than 3 seasons. This story is not done," and I was like, "It's kind of done." I don't know. It's actually quite well rounded.
Yeah,
That 3 season arc is pretty decent, to be honest.
it is. It's a good one.
I think if it had
What?
gone on any longer, I think it could have got started dragging.
Yeah,
Honestly.
yeah. What I could imagine is that they get back into it, like when all of them are grown up and
Mm.
maybe either Maureen or John are not around anymore or whatever. Like I could see a storyline like that going, and
Yeah, it's like some of them could have new stories that you know, as like
Will
adults.
definitely could have.
Will definitely, absolutely. But like even just looking at the description of the last episode on Wikipedia here, it literally says, John enjoys a peaceful life. And it's like, don't make him do anything else. He's
Yeah,
retired.
he is. He did all he could, so he deserves it.
Let him have his little house.
Yeah, exactly. On the new planet with his family, and that's it. Done.
Peace.
Watch Lost in Space.
It's
That's
so good.
that's the message. It's so good. Katie cried. So
I
that's a good
did
sign.
a lot.
I always cry, so that doesn't matter. But anyway, this was us discussing Lost in Space in our first part of the Toby Stephens week.
Keep an eye
And
out, because there will be another one.
there will be another one. There might be like a break between the two Toby Stephens episodes. There will be a break.
There will be a break. Oh,
But
actually, as a point, because
Yes,
I feel
yes.
like that we should just say this now.
Exactly.
Between this episode coming out next week,
Next week.
our episode will not be on Thursday. It will be on Friday, because we're going to do a live stream. We're going to be talking about Avatar,
Yes.
The Last Airbender, not the movies. We've done that before.
We're done then. Yeah.
The new Avatar Last Airbender series will be a live stream at 8 p.m., but it'll be on Friday, the 1st of March.
Yes.
I am the one editing this episode, so I will do a big old flash, like the date on screen. Friday, the 1st of March at 8 p.m. UK time and 12 p.m. Western time.
Yes.
Pacific Standard Time, sorry.
It's in the description as well, and it's going to be everywhere.
It'll
We're
be
going to be
everywhere.
tweeting about
I
it.
will, yes, I will make sure to tweet about it, but it'll be on Friday and not Thursday, so don't get mixed up.
Exactly. All right. This is us talking about Lost in Space, and we're going to be back next week talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender.
And the
And
week after
then-
that, it's Black Sails time, baby.
It is. All right. Take care, everyone, and watch movies.
Goodbye, everybody. Watch movies and TV.